You walk into a room, and before anyone even looks at you, the mood is off. It's not one big thing you can point to. It's the way a coffee mug was placed on the table, the fractional delay in a greeting, the specific texture of the silence. This isn't just a vague feeling of anxiety. It feels like you're processing raw data. Have you ever felt like you have a high-resolution weather report for the emotional climate of any room you enter? A system that seems to notice everything. It's like your brain came factory installed with a high-performance satellite dish for human emotions, but the off switch is missing. So you find yourself analyzing the subtle shift in your boss's email sign-off, decoding the precise weight of a friend's sigh, or trying to understand the subtext of a single-word text message. It can feel completely exhausting, and it's easy to start thinking that this overanalysis is some kind of personal flaw or a system malfunction. But what if this constant, exhausting analysis isn't a malfunction? What if it's not a sign that you're broken, but a sign that you've been meticulously trained? The hidden truth is that this heightened awareness might not be a symptom to be cured, but a very specific form of intelligence born from adversity. To understand this gift, we first have to look at how the brain itself is physically changed by what it endures. The mechanism behind this change is a core principle of neuroscience, neuroplasticity. It's your brain's remarkable ability to physically rewire itself based on experience. When faced with sustained adversity, the brain doesn't just endure damage, it actively adapts. It builds a new cognitive architecture designed for survival in an unpredictable world. This process forges the very skills of what we're calling trauma-born intelligence. We'll explore 7 of these specific signs. Hyper-vigilance reframed as pattern recognition, an unusual depth of empathy, a calibrated sense for authenticity, resilient problem-solving, radical creativity, profound self-awareness, and a deep appreciation for nuance. But the central issue is that we've been taught to see these adaptations as symptoms. But this perspective misses something profound. It sees the adaptation, but ignores the intelligence within it. What if we stopped trying to fix these traits and started trying to understand them? Not as liabilities, but as skills. Thankfully, psychological research has already begun this exact reframe. The concept is called post-traumatic growth, pioneered by researchers at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. They were among the first to formally document how the struggle with adversity can forge profound positive changes. This growth is the very foundation for what we're calling trauma-born intelligence. And the evidence for how frequently this transformation occurs might be more common than you think. Now, it's crucial to understand that post-traumatic growth doesn't mean the trauma was a good thing. It means that the difficult process of grappling with it can lead to profound development. In fact, research published in sources like the Journal of Traumatic Stress suggests that a significant majority, often over half, of survivors report experiencing some kind of positive psychological change. It's a surprisingly common human response to adversity. But how does the brain physically accomplish this remarkable rewiring? The mechanism behind this is pure survival. When your brain is forced to operate in a high-stress, unpredictable environment, it doesn't just endure. It adapts. It forges new, more efficient neural pathways as a biological imperative. This intense neurological rewiring is the very architecture of trauma-born intelligence. But this process of profound change isn't gentle. It often feels like destruction long before it reveals itself as growth. To truly understand this, it helps to look at what happens in nature after a devastating event. Imagine a forest floor after a wildfire has swept through. On the surface, it looks like pure devastation, a landscape of ash and scorched earth. From this perspective, all you can see is loss. But beneath the surface, something incredible is happening. The fire has cleared away the dense, dead undergrowth that was choking out the light. It has unlocked vital nutrients in the soil, creating the perfect conditions for new growth. The life that returns isn't just a copy of what was there before. It's often more resilient, more diverse. This is the essence of post-traumatic growth. But this new mental architecture isn't just about becoming tougher. It manifests as entirely new cognitive skills. So this brings us to the signs themselves. And what's fascinating is that these unique cognitive skills are often already active in your life, just disguised as something you've been taught to see as a flaw or a weakness. The first sign often masquerades as hyper-vigilance, that feeling of being constantly on alert. But within the architecture of trauma-born intelligence, this isn't a bug. It's a feature. It's an advanced pattern recognition system. Because your nervous system was calibrated to anticipate the unpredictable, it became exceptionally good at scanning the environment for subtle data. You're not just looking for overt threats. You're detecting the tiny inconsistencies in a story, the micro-expressions that betray an emotion, the connections between details that others completely miss. This isn't just a psychological quirk. It has a clear signature in the brain's hardware. This heightened sensitivity is well documented. At the center of it is the amygdala, your brain's internal threat detector. According to findings often cited by institutions like the National Institute of Mental Health, after trauma, the system can become overactive, like a smoke alarm with its sensitivity dialed to the maximum, constantly flagging potential threats, even subtle ones. But a system that's always sounding the alarm forces another part of the brain to become an expert at interpreting the noise. That expert interpreter is your prefrontal cortex, the logical, thinking part of your brain. It's forced into a constant dialogue with the hypersensitive amygdala, having to sift through a storm of signals and ask, is this real? What does this mean? This relentless evaluation is a cognitive workout, strengthening the very neural circuits responsible for deep analysis. It's a system designed to turn raw, chaotic noise into meaningful patterns, which leads to a powerful reframe of the entire experience. So that feeling you've been calling anxiety is something else entirely. It's not a system error. It's your brain processing a much higher bandwidth of social and environmental data. And when you process that much information about people, it fundamentally changes you. This leads to the second sign of trauma-born intelligence, an unusual depth of empathy. When you've had to navigate your own complex inner world of pain, you become fluent in the unspoken language of human feeling. You don't just hear what people are saying. You can feel the emotional texture beneath their words. The subtle strain in a cheerful voice, the flicker of doubt in a confident statement. But this profound level of perception is often misunderstood and frequently comes with a familiar label. You've likely been told you're too sensitive, a label that frames this deep perception as a kind of weakness. But let's ask a different question. Is it truly being overly sensitive, or is it being accurately perceptive? This depth isn't a liability. It's a powerful tool for genuine connection. It means your internal system is calibrated to a much higher resolution of emotional truth. And this precision debunks the myth that this kind of sensitivity makes you fragile. In fact, this very calibration is what powers your next gift. This brings us to sign number 3, an almost infallible gut feeling for inauthenticity. This wasn't learned from a book. It was forged as a survival skill. It's the ability to sense the subtle mismatch between spoken words and their true emotional texture. This isn't cynicism. It's a system that has a deep, embodied memory of what a lack of authenticity can cost. This isn't cynicism. It's a form of high-fidelity memory. Your mind isn't just recording events. It's recording their energetic signature. The texture of a lie, the emotional cost of a broken promise. It prioritizes the real over the polite. After all, when you've had to survive situations where the normal rules of engagement were constantly shifting, your brain doesn't just get good at spotting inconsistencies. It gets brilliant at creating its own rules. This ability to create new rules manifests as signs 4 and 5, resilient problem solving, and radical creativity. When you've lived through situations where the established systems fail, your brain learns to think outside of them by default. It becomes adept at navigating chaos and finding non-linear solutions because the straight path was never reliable. You see possibilities where others only see a dead end. Let's be clear, this skill set was not acquired in a peaceful classroom. It was forged in chaos, and that comes with a cost. But the benefit is profound. When structures crumble and the path forward is unclear, many people freeze. They are paralyzed by the uncertainty. You, however, are fluent in it. Your mind's architecture is built for this terrain. This is a core component of trauma-born intelligence. Recognizing these signs in yourself is a powerful act of validation, but it also raises a crucial question. What do you do with this awareness now? So you might recognize yourself in this architecture. The point isn't to glorify the pain that built it, but to compassionately integrate your entire story. This process often begins with a skill you've already been forced to develop. This brings us to the sixth sign, profound self-awareness. The journey of healing often requires a level of introspection that many people simply never undertake. You've had to become an expert cartographer of your own mind, mapping out your triggers, your motivations, and the exact boundaries of your emotional limits. This deep, nuanced understanding of your own internal architecture is a rare form of intelligence. But it's precisely this closeness to your own inner workings that can create a painful illusion about the very nature of who you are. You see every trigger, every painful memory, and assume it's all evidence of a flawed design. But what if you've been looking at the blueprints of your mind, thinking they were full of errors when you were actually looking at the plans for a different kind of building entirely? It's not a broken system. It's simply a more complex one, capable of perceiving a different kind of reality. And this complex architecture is the source of the seventh and final sign, an appreciation for nuance. Because you've had to live in the gray areas where simple answers collapse, you're naturally resistant to black and white thinking. This is a form of wisdom. So let's be clear. This entire cognitive structure is not a pathology. It is a testament to your resilience. You are not broken. You are adapted. And this adaptation leaves you with a profound and unavoidable choice. This intelligence doesn't erase the pain of its origin. So the question, then, isn't how to dismantle these traits, but how to wield them with compassion. Is the goal to somehow return to the person you were before, or to fully embrace the complex, perceptive, and resilient person you have now become? After seeing these traits aren't a flaw, but an adaptation, How do you balance healing the pain that created them while honoring the wisdom they provide? Answer in the comments below. This same adaptation, however, fuels a powerful illusion we'll expose in the next video: the feeling that you're an imposter. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the truth. Like and share this with someone who needs to hear they are adapted, not broken.